Well, hi everyone. I'm Colleen, and this is Robin with Reiki Lifestyle Podcast. Hi, Robin.
Hi, good to be here.
And we have our guest, Meizhu Zhu. So, welcome, Meizhu.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Robin. Hi, Colleen. It's really nice to be here.
Oh, we're so glad to have you here. And, we always love our conversations with everybody, of course, with the different guests. But it's just so fun to reconnect. And I know for all the listeners, welcome also. But I know Meiju from the class in Japan on Mount Kurama that William Rand and I taught together in November. And so, anyway, it's so fun to get to know people because we're there for a week together or 5 days, and then we get to meet you again.
And
S-
we also met her in Animal Reiki.
And animal Reiki. Yes.
Yeah, and also, I'm in the 12 Heaven and the next step Reiki class.
Yes.
That's right. Oh, I love it. Oh, God, that makes so much sense, Meiju, because for everybody listening, we always do an invocation before we start the podcast we don't post with the podcast. And in that invocation, the energy just kept coming through. And I think, is it okay if I share a little bit about that, Meiju?
Yes, of
Okay.
course.
So the way the energy was coming through, I could perceive her consciousness all the way out with Lady Wisdom and how it was coming through to her as one of the keepers of wisdom, one of the teachers of wisdom. And it's an energy. And it was coming through that 12 heavens portal. So I was watching it come through that energy as it was, and it in the invocation, it talked about right in your soul and your gut and your heart and your head in this lifetime and just the whole energy of it. So seeing you as one of the teachers of wisdom on the earth.
Oh my God.
I know,
That
sorry to
was
put you on this.
really beautiful. And also, thank you so much for the invocation and then, to channeling the energy. I was literally like has tears in my eyes, like by the end of the invocation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it felt like it aligned you in a way that you didn't know was out of alignment.
it is. Yes.
Yeah, it felt like it just came through. It was like coming through. I guess we're going to probably have to post the invocation after this conversation, maybe.
Well, and it makes sense, Meiju, as we kind of always chat too before with how much you have going on right now. That makes a lot of sense in transitions. It's like you have a lot of things happening that it's like when we're in,
On my hands.
yeah, when there's big, like changes happening and she's got a big move coming up is what I am referring to. It is sometimes, you're balancing a lot, and so it makes sense that it was just kind of bringing all of those pieces into that alignment that you're speaking of, Colleen.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. And also, I felt like it gave me a lot of strength as well, like, just after the invocation. And like reinsured me that, I am on the right path for sure.
It did. Like I say, we'll have to post it now because we're talking about it, but it was also so I think it's actually such a helpful topic because it also is an example of how Reiki works and spiritual awakening and then in real life. Because one of the things that was really notable to me is how it said as the energy was flowing through wisdom all the way through these heavens and into your body and into the earth and creating that alignment, it also talked about you that you carried the energy of wisdom. like the actual energy of it. And um, but I noted how much it's said a couple times, even when you don't feel that way.
Yeah. Yes. And I didn't know it's like I thought invocation maybe it's all similar. I don't know, it's like you did it, just through the energy itself. So I was actually wondering, like, oh, like lady energy from 12 heaven, Now it all makes sense to me.
Exactly. It's yeah, she has Lady Wisdom has come in a couple weeks ago for me and we've been talking about it and Robin and really now learning and the next person we're having on the podcast is actually really knows Lady Wisdom as a being really well. So I'm super excited to learn more about her. But feeling the energy of it as it came through you was the understanding that it's one of the creation life force energies, and some souls are born here to be an expression of that energy. And for you, it's that wisdom energy. And then, oh my gosh, bringing your son.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
It's like,
I got goosebumps. My God, it's really, I'm so happy and it's really an honor, you know, and it's beautiful. I can't express like, how I really feel. Yeah.
thank you. Well, thank you too, because we get to feel that with you. So, yeah.
Thank you.
And then I think I want to bring up one more thing again for the listeners because I think it's actually relevant to like understanding how that is for people because they are invocations like that are channeled. So even though, I have a pathway, I'm thinking about it, it's
Mhm.
still channeled and every time it's different for each person. And so, and each guest with the three of us and how that works too. But the other thing I really wanted to bring up was the connection because you are moving and it's such a big move.
Mm.
Do you want to share? Is it okay to share what you're
Yes,
okay
yes. So
moving?
yeah, I'm in a huge transitioning now. So right now I'm in Canada. I have been lived in Canada for past 18 years. And now I decided to move to United States. And actually, we decided to move to Orlando just the beginning of this year. And I would say it's also because of the energy showed to me. So it's not I choose to go there, but it's kind of like, I've been guiding to go there. It's very interesting. Like when I was thinking about like where to go in States, at first I was thinking about California because I would say a lot of people wants to move there. However, like, I starts to pray with Reiki. I starts to ask Reiki and just let Reiki to guide me. And then, like people show up in my life, like new friend shows up. I don't know, it's just everybody starts to, throw me Orlando, like this kind of idea. And that make me actually start to do research about it. And it also like, reminds me like when I was young, before I had my son, I went to Orlando every summer for like at least 4 or 5 summers, but because I love to go to Disney. So every summer when I was studying in Canada, every summer I will go there with my friend. And I never thought about moving there. But now, like, when I rethink the experience, like when I was there, when I was young, and it recalled me like the feeling that I had when I was there, I always feel like so familiar. I never felt like, oh, I'm going somewhere that I don't know to travel. I just always feel like it's like home. So then I realized, wow, like, maybe that's why, like, that's where I should go. And the interesting thing is also like, I read cards, like the tarot cards with like some lady. So yeah, and then in the cards, it also shows Orlando. And one more thing is like before I had the card reading, I do Reiki healing with one of my classmates from the master class. She is in India now. So every week we meet online, we give healing each other. So at one session, she because she know I want to move to States, but she asked me like, oh, where do you want to move? I said, I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I'm thinking couple places, but I didn't tell her like where. So during the healing session, like she was giving me healing, right? And she saw Florida and she saw Disney. So when after the healing, she was like, oh, maybe you should think about Florida. I saw Disney. I'm like, that's where I'm thinking. Yeah, so it's like everything is just, aligned. It's kind of like make me feel like, yeah, that's my like, where my soul guiding me. But actually, the Reiki actually make make me really see like the clarity, and I choose where to go like effortlessly. I don't need to like do a lot of research and the climate anything like that. But yeah, now I just go with the energy. It's really effortless and beautiful and fearless. People ask me like, it's a huge move. Like, you're moving there with your son. Like the first question people always ask, oh, do you have friend there? Do you have family there? I said, no, I have nobody there. And they're like, what? And you're moving there? I said, yeah. And they're like, you're not like afraid of this, afraid of that. I said, no. When I first came to Canada, I had nothing but myself. I know nobody. But compared to when I came to Canada, now I have, my son, I have like, more like financial, like, like, support, or like my more financial, like independent. So why would I be afraid of like, to move there? And now, like, I'm more mature, like I know more like things. My English is much much better compared to 18 years ago. So I said there's nothing to be afraid of. When i when i move there, I will meet new friends. So yeah, so but I
Right.
would say like, that's all this confidence is also because of all these years the healing work made who I am today. Yeah.
Meizhu, I have to share one more synchronicity. Colleen and I go to Disney on Thursday.
What?
We're going to California. We're going to Disneyland in
Oh
California, but we're
my
leaving on
God.
Thursday for like a week. It's like when you said that.
Oh,
Wow.
I'm I'm taking my son to their this Saturday for the March break.
Yeah, there you
Oh
go.
my God.
I love it.
And I grew
Yeah.
up in San Diego, so I grew up going to Disneyland all the time. So yeah, we
San
put
Diego
on
is
one of our
beautiful.
t-shirts that I'm a generation e-ticket holder.
Oh my God.
Back in the day when it was all done by e-tickets and A B C D E, and E was the
Maybe-
good.
Oh
Yeah,
my God. San Diego
that's
is
too
really
funny.
beautiful, right?
Oh, I
Yeah,
love
it
it.
is.
Well, good for you. I also relate to that story too, because we had the same experience when we came to Oregon, and I came to visit a friend and just went, this is where I have to live. This is it. This is what I've looked for my whole life. I mean, I knew it with every bit of everything that I knew. And we did the same thing. Robin was 2 when we moved here, and our son was 6. And we had one friend, but she was super busy, so it wasn't like because of her. Um, and although she is my lifelong friend, but anyway, we came here with $1,000, two kids, no jobs, no connections at all, no place that, to rent or anything. And we found it all was exactly like, oh, this is home. Like I knew I had finally found home because there was the part of me that always knew, even though I grew up in paradise in San Diego on the beach, and but I always knew I wasn't home. And so I totally relate to your story. And I knew with everything it was the right choice. And everybody kept saying, "How can you do that?" And we were in a huge recession then, because this was 1986, huge recession. And my husband's a contractor and a carpenter at that time. And so, yeah, we just did it. My mom called and said, "Does Robin have a job yet?" Husband is Robin also. And she said, and I said, "Well, I don't know. He hasn't come home. He left this morning, hasn't come home, so I think so."
Wow, that's really impressive.
Yeah,
That's
and here we are.
wow,
Yeah. So I
amazing.
I totally understand what you mean by having that sense of feeling of like familiarity. Yeah.
Yeah, your story is really wow. That gives me more like a lot of like, confident. You're super, super brave at that time during that situation.
Yeah. And but I knew it. It's like you say, I knew it. I didn't have Reiki back then. Um, but I did. I mean, there's stories behind it that are too long to go into here, but and it was a time that we really had a lot of people tell us that it was the wrong thing to do. And so that was another interesting part of it, but I just knew. And so, yeah, good for you.
Meizhu, how did you come into Reiki?
Oh, so I first encountered Reiki, I think it was in 2008. Yeah. So when that time my son was like around 2 years old, less than two, and that was one of the most, challenging period of my time. I became a single mom, like, and I was really, really depressed, not because of the marriage, but because of like everything. And even before I had my son, I was always like, wondering like, why I'm alive. Like I was always like that since I was like start from maybe high school. I don't even remember. And and with all that, situation happened, just become to a single mom and with no help. So at that time, I was like really like I would say like in my darkest time. And I think I was like searching something, but I didn't know, like, I didn't even know what I was looking for. So a close friend of me, she's at my mother's age, but we're really close friends. And she was an intuitive healer. And she just got her Reiki master at that time. And she saw me like, in a really bad shape. And then she asked me if I would like to try Reiki. And at that point, like, I have no idea what Reiki was. But somehow I was like, yeah, okay, I'd love to try it, because I'm always being drawn to those kind of mystical things since I was a like little girl, and I was always open to trying things. So even though I didn't even know what Reiki was, but I was really curious. So I went to her home. So she had a home studio. I went to her home for my first session, but without any expectation. And after the first session, to be honest, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything. Like I just felt like I was lying on the bed. I fell asleep. Somehow I didn't fall asleep, in the between, like, yeah. But after the session, I didn't really feel anything. And she asked me, like, how did you feel? I said, I don't know, like a little bit relaxed, but nothing like, special. So she said, okay. And then she said, if you want to come for the next session, just message me. And I didn't think anything. I just, went down. But when I, got into my car, there was like, a glimpse of happiness I just suddenly felt. I was like, somehow I felt a little bit happier. Like that happiness had been missing for a very long time. And, like it was really very, really, really like settle small, but it gave me a sense of like, I want to come back. I want to do it again. I want to say like how it can like, uh, take me to. Because for me at that time, I was thinking, well, it doesn't do anything bad for me. So I got nothing to lose. I want to try more. So yeah, so I keep going back to her every week, continuously for like, I would say at least 4 to 6 months every week. Yeah. And then I start to feel the difference. And after, she said, oh, you don't need to come like every week now. You can come back like maybe every once in every 2 week and 2 weeks. And after like I go to get healing like every month like that. But the more I do, the more I felt the difference. But at first, like, I felt it's the way I say things differently. The perspective changed a lot. Like there was one time like my friend said something to me. Usually it will trigger me like, so bad. But after like, I would say I think after 3 months, like keep getting Reiki, I felt like it doesn't trigger me anymore. And then I was like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I, start with Reiki. And then since then, I never stopped getting Reiki. Yeah. Till now, it's already, I would say, almost 7 years and a half, 8 years. Yeah.
And so then you decided to take, class. And what was it, just your experience with sessions that ended up making you take a class to learn it for yourself, or?
I never thought about I would take class. I never thought about I would become a Reiki healer. Because, for me, I thought my friend, she was born with certain ability, she can see energy, she can see spirit. She's a mediumship. So I thought only people like that can be a healer. So for me, I never thought I could be a healer, but I always wanted to. But yeah, it's after the year 6, after 6 years of keeping getting the Reiki healer, I finally like, got the call. I really kind of like heard it. It says you should step into like to learn Reiki. And at that time I was still doubting. I'm like, me? How? Like, I can't feel energy. Like, how can I be a healer? But it's just this, it's keep coming like louder and louder. And I keep like looking at William's website. And then like I think and then like finally I decided to go. And at that time I was telling myself, I'm like, it's not a big deal. I will just go learn it. I can give it to my son. I can heal him, and uh I can heal my family members. I don't have to like give Reiki sessions to other people. Yeah, so that's how I like, take the Reiki 1 and 2 classes. But after the class, it's like really like magic happened in the class. Like I felt energy. I'm like, I was looking at my hand literally, and I was asking William, I like, what? How? Yeah. And after I came back, I started to practice on my friend. But even before I took the class, um, a lot of my friends, like they saw like the big change of me. For them, they even say like the face of me changed. It's totally different. So they start to wondering like, oh, what happened to you? Like, what did you do? Like you're totally different. Like, and then I told them like what I did. It was Reiki. And for us in Chinese community, really like not a lot of people know what Reiki is because we like to go to fortune teller. Yeah. So I introduced them what Reiki is, and it really surprised me is like they'd love to try it. So I asked my healer to hold a group session, and I invited, I think, 8 of my friends to come for the group session. Because at that time I had a studio, like it's from my another business, but the studio is very zen. So it's perfect, for this type of like work. So we hold a group Reiki session there. And I was basically just coordinating and helping because at that time I was not a healer. So after the session, like everybody shared their experience. There are people, they saw something, they have visions, they have this, that. Some people, they didn't feel anything. There are people fell asleep. But anyway, like, out of 8, 7 of them, they booked private session with my healer. And then after a couple of the private session, all of them like give me the feedback. They said, I don't know what have been changed, but I feel happier. And that moment when I got that feedback, I feel so satisfied. Like I never had that feeling in my life ever. I had my other small business before. It never gave me that feeling. And then at that time, I was sure, I was like, this is what I want to do in my life. I want to help people. I want to like introduce Reiki to them and like kind of like introduce them a way, like let them see actually there is a way you can change yourself from within. But at that time, like I don't know how to do it. And as I said before, I never thought I could be a healer. So I was like kind of struggling, like, how do I do this? How do I do this? So I partnership with my healer. So, she come to the studio to give session to my friend, my client, things like that. Yeah. So we have been doing this together for 2 years until I got the call to become a Reiki practitioner by myself. Yeah. And my healer, she always encouraged me. She always encouraged me, like, to take the step. But at first, like I kind of scared and refused. Yeah, until like I really heard the call. I think it's the call from, I don't know, my higher self or Reiki energy itself. Yeah. So after the level 1 and 2, I started to practice on the client, used to go to my healer because my healer, she is not a full-time healer. She has her own government job. And she really want me to do more this like energy work. So I start to practice on them. And the more I practice, the more like, energy like you can feel. And then it make me want to learn more. So at 6 months, at 6 months of the practice, I went to Hawaii, took the master class right away. Yeah. And after the master class, like the energy you can channeling is way stronger and more powerful. Yeah, and then I start to get like, referral client from my friend and the previous client. Yeah. And then after I went to Japan to took the Karuna with Colleen and William. And here I am now.
What a great story. And I love the initial thought, because this is so common. The initial thought of, I didn't feel anything. And just even that state of being in the in-between, or what we call the gap or the void, sometimes just letting your body be in that place. You're not awake, you're not asleep. And for that length of a time, and then that glimmer of happiness. Reiki, the secret art of inviting happiness.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you move to Orlando, then are you going to have a Reiki? Are you going to have a Reiki practice and business there?
Yes, that's what I'm planning to do. I want to have a small studio for this. Yeah. But I really want to do more teaching now. Yeah. So for teaching, it's like I can do online teaching, right? So I really want to teach like our Chinese community because in China, people starts to get aware of the inner work, and Reiki starts to like get more popular than before. But I really want to share like the Reiki style that I learned from ICRT. Yeah, because there are too many different like styles of Reiki out there. But I really want to spread like, the Reiki, the ICRT Reiki. Yeah. And to make more people can learn it in a like, more standard way. Yeah. So when I moved to Orlando, like, yeah, I'm thinking to open a studio and at the same time, like, do more, like, online teaching.
And I also love that you are taking the 12 Heavens class, because it is one of the things I've noticed in the Chinese community is that um, interest in the telepathic part of Reiki, and how it does elevate your consciousness in a way that allows more psychic development, telepathic communication and development. And I don't know in the bigger picture, but what I have observed with students and clients of mine from China, or Chinese in America, wherever, but anyway, that there is a really big interest in that. And so that will also be a part of, because that's what we learn in the 12 Heavens class, is working with those abilities to elevate consciousness.
Yes, because for us, like, we never thought about this kind of like, ability. It's something we already have in us and just waiting to be awakened, right? So, like, most of us never thought we could gain that kind of power. That's why, like, going to, uh, those kind of, what did I say? Like, fortune teller. It's very, very popular. It's super popular in China. And, like I used to love to go to them. Yeah. So also that's the reason why I really wanna like, more like Chinese people know like there's Reiki out there instead of like, you go searching outside for an answer. Like you should start to like look inward, and the Reiki is a really simple easy but effective, powerful way to do it. And then you will know the answer by yourself. You don't need to go to anybody to search, to ask the answer that you want. And I feel like when your awareness is not that high, I would say, even you go to the fortune teller, the answer they gave you, you will understand in a different level. Maybe they mean this, but you understand in this way, and you make your decision, like at this frequency. So I felt it's really important, to make our awareness, to heighten our awareness, yeah, and do the inner work.
And have a tool that actually gets you there, because the energy and then the Reiki techniques and actually I think looking back at, you know, the history of Reiki energy, it definitely flows through China also. So there has to be, an ancestral memory, a cellular memory, genetic memory.
I believe that too, because as in Chinese, like we do the qigong,
Yeah.
so it's also like you're moving the life force energy. So a lot of time, people ask me, oh, what is this? So I always tell them, you know what qigong is? The energy we're moving, it's the same life force energy. Yeah.
I think
So as it become much more popular now, I really felt like the call, to give the teaching, and then to bring I would say the authentic, the ICRT Reiki to more people. Yeah.
I think a lot of people too can relate to the idea that I didn't think I was a healer, that I thought it was just a gift that you're born with rather than something that you can learn or even a skill that you can develop. Or as we go through that process, that remembering or that awakening of those kind of innate abilities that we all have and just needing to learn how it works for us, uh, l- lifting those blocks that we might have to that from ourselves through these tools and techniques. I know I can relate having Colleen as a mother that because of how she thinks and operates, and she's practical, but she's also a very creative. And because I wasn't exactly like that, that was how I always pictured that kind of person of that's, oh, this is just a gift and you don't have it, you don't have it. And so I'd be interested to kind of hear your perspective on a deeper level with that too, Meizhu, because I went through that, and that's a common story within Reiki as well.
Yeah, for me, it's really like you have to experience it, right? And you have to experience Reiki first. And then I feel like the level 1, 2 class, after the placement, everybody can feel the energy. Everybody. Yeah. So that really gave me a huge confidence, because even after the class, I still felt a little bit not very confident. Because for me, it's very easy to, the class is very easy, right? And Reiki is a very easy tool, you can use. And then it's just too good to be true. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And yeah, so I think that's the hardest part for most people to actually believe and understand. Like you don't need to try hard. It's in you. And when you surrender, when you trust, and it's just there. So the more, and also I feel it's the more you practice, the more you will start to see how the energy works. And then, you know, the feedback every time I get from my client, it really like gave me a lot of confidence. Like, you know, during the session, I normally can say something or get some messages. At first, I always thought like, is it my own thoughts? I made it up, or it's like really something. So at first, I kept it by myself. I didn't tell them. But you know, and then after the session, they always share how they feel. They always, and then always whatever they're sharing is what I saw, what I, you know, hear during the session. And I was like, yes, I saw that, you know? And after I learned that, you know, I have to trust it. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. I will tell them what I see. I will tell them what message that I get. So the more I do, I find like every time, never wrong, never wrong. Yeah. And it's really, it need a lot of like practice and need a lot of like, you know, trust, really like, you know, let the ego go. And yeah, trust the energy, trust your intuition. And then once you start to do that, you will get more intuitive. Yeah. Oh, I want to share one thing. It's really interesting. So during the Reiki session, I was with my classmates that I mentioned last week, couple days ago. She channeled how to read Akashic record with Reiki. And then she taught me how to do it. And I was like, no, 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 no. How? Like, I can't do it because I always want to learn it. Like a year ago before, I always want to learn. And then I was actually searching online, like, you know, search some teachers who can teach it. But there's nobody like really resonate to me. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna to do it like until I find a teacher that I felt like, you know, drawn to. So I just dropped it. And then, you know, during our class in Karuna, uh, two of our classmates, they're from China. They do the Akashic reading. So I asked them like, oh, can you teach this, or you have any teacher like, you know, you can recommend? They're like, no, we didn't learn it. It just came to us. And I was like, ah, how? How it came to you? So I was like, okay. And I didn't put more thoughts. And until like couple days ago, yeah, like she said, you know, I channeled this with Reiki. It's like Reiki guiding me to do it, and then blah blah. And she's like, I can teach you. Do you want to try it on me for this session? I'm like, okay. So he taught me like, you know, how to do it, invite Reiki first, and then, you know, the archangel, you know, the guide for the record, the Akashic record, blah blah things. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I have to like, you know, let go everything and just trust. And when I close my eyes, I invite Reiki, and I really like, you know, drop like everything about me and ask Reiki to guide me. And it just happened. And I start to see all these things. I'm like, wow, wow. And then the information I get, at first I'm like, am I making this up? And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, I'm not that creativity to make that kind of things up, you know? Yeah, so it's really amazing, like, you know, how Reiki guide us, like, you know, to channeling, like, like I think the energy that we needed maybe, or yeah, or like our own ability, like, yeah, like I would say like open our spiritual ability.
Reveals
Yeah,
it.
reveals it. Yeah, reveals
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
And I think a
yeah,
lot of it comes down to what you're curious about and interested in. And then the Reiki energy will help you focus on that particular area. But it is that metaphysical aspect of it also that you're describing, I think, where there's more and more understanding now about both our own human intellect, our authentic intellect that has this ability already. Like you say, it's inward. It's already there. And
yes.
then we've been taught to forget it, and now we're remembering it. And I really do believe, I look at our generations here, just even with us and then the people listening, that we are establishing the normalcy of this ability in our communities, that it is in each of us. And then how do you get there? And I love the way you describe the Reiki because it's so unusual with something that you don't have to earn it or deserve it or, work hard for it. It's literally given to you and you just
Yes.
simply receive it. And so I love the way you described that and how it just showed you what your path is.
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, I'm so glad you're in the next step in 12 Heavens
Yeah.
classes. Because
And
there's so
it's
much
really
about
great.
all of this as well.
It's really great that, there is some class like this out there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like, thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, that's why we teach it, because I noticed it too, day one years and years ago. And then that, day one with Reiki one, like you say, they already start to get those impressions. And exactly what you said is what happens. Am I just making this up? And at the same time, it's like, I could never make up the stuff. It's like I mean, I would be a world famous novelist if I could make this all up. And
Yes.
so that's what inspired us to teach it. And then when Robin started working with me 10 years ago, same thing was happening for her. And so that's what brought us to the classes. And the classes have told us what they want us to teach. It hasn't been us like, oh, I know we need to teach this. It kind of demanded it actually. And in a way that, like you said, I definitely knew I wasn't, never thought I was going to be a healer or do this kind of work. I mean, in retrospect, I can see there was a natural aptitude to it, but and desire for it, but it's the same thing with the teaching. And what I love is that it's going to even help you explain what you know and what you teach to your community.
And also, I think like, the community is also very, very important.
Yes.
Yeah. Like the class you and Robin are holding, the 12th heaven and the next next step of Reiki. The yeah, the community really like support our personal growth as well. Yeah.
Well, and community is everything right now. And as we are
Mm.
becoming more and more global through the opportunities like technology, I love how like this one touches you and you are in it, and then it spreads from you to your communities and their communities, and it's really how it makes it around the world.
So
Yeah.
thank you
So
guys to provide this kind of class for us.
when you say you're going to work with the Chinese community, are you going to be working with the people in China or in Orlando or wherever anybody is?
Anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I really want to work with more people from China in China itself because they're very limited way, like, to learn, I would say to learn Reiki or any other type of like modalities in a proper way. And also the market is very like, uh like people they charge crazy for the class. I've mentioned that to you and William when we were in Mount Kurama. So for me, it's like, I I want like really more and more people can learn Reiki, can have this, tool to heal themselves or their family member. So I really like when you market the price like that high, not a lot of people can afford it. Yeah. So I think because of the rarity, you know, uh, so that's why they market that kind of like crazy price. And also like, the lineage of Reiki, it's also like, all different kinds of it. Yeah. So for me, like I really wanna like target the mainland of China, especially mainland of China, because Taiwan and Hong Kong, they're more open. They have more this, type of thing. But in our mainland of China, it's very the source is limited. Yeah. Yeah.
And the
So I want,
structure that you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, is yeah.
So, Meizhu, will you do a lot of then online practice and teaching? Will you travel there? I mean, off the top of your head, what are you feeling called to do?
My vision is to travel at least twice a year to back there, and to different places to hold classes. And other than that, like online, yeah, it's more practical for me because, I have nobody but myself to take care of my son. If not, if not, I travel all year round. Yeah. Maybe one day he can travel with me together.
Well, just from the way you've talked about him, I would see him on this path with you for sure.
Oh, I give Reiki to him, right? And then at first, he doesn't care. And like now, he sometimes he will come to me. He says, "Mommy, can you give me Reiki? You haven't given me Reiki for a very long time, but you're giving Reiki to other people every day."
We get that to the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but when I give Reiki to him, he never stopped moving. He keep moving all the time. But at first, I was really mad, you know. That's also a huge lesson that I learned from Reiki. The first time I gave him Reiki, he was moving, like doing all this, and he starts to licking my hands. So I put my hands in front of his face. He's like licking my hands. I'm like, what? I got so pissed. And then at that time, I gave him the tree of life symbol. That's what I called to give him. So I invite the divine animal kingdom. So I got mad. I closed my eyes. The animals, the divine animals, they starts to talk to me. They're like, let him be, and just calm down. We will take care of this. Don't worry. Let him be himself. And I'm like, okay, I listen. I calm down. Yeah, like you guys do the work. You cannot believe. After 5 seconds, really, he passed out. He was keep moving for at least like 30 minutes. And I couldn't like, make him like still. And after they told me, they're like, we will take care of this. Let him be like, be himself. Literally like that. He was like, And I'm like, what? Yeah, so I learned from them. And after that, like no matter how active he is, like on the Reiki table, I'm fine with it. I'm like, okay, you be who you are. I give like whatever I can give. Yeah. And then
It's
he actually, yeah, become calm like more easily.
I found, Meizhu, that the animal Reiki was super helpful in giving Reiki to my daughter. And similar reasons. It wasn't just the energy, it was that too. And like that resonance of the tree of life, but also the animals. And I find that with Reiki, kids
The
connect to animals so easily that it's a really helpful bridge. Like it's always somewhere, something like if they learn Reiki, a lot of times they want to give Reiki to the animals first. And so I found the resonance of the energy, but then also, honestly, the tools and techniques of animal Reiki I found really helpful with Luna as well. So that idea of Reiki in motion, right? That you're
yeah,
allowing them to do what they need to do while they're receiving Reiki. The idea that you don't necessarily need to be like hands on in order to have them receive the Reiki. So there's like a few things in a similar way that I also found really helpful with animal Reiki, with giving Reiki to her, because she's very active too and literally
mhm.
never stops moving. So um
I feel you.
yeah, and so it's like, oh, I have to meet her where she's at rather than the other way around.
And then the unconditional love the animal they gave, it's also like, I learned a lot from them. Yeah. And like there are times my son even asks, he's like, Mom, can you call animals? Can you call them? And then you can leave. I'm like, okay, I call them. He always asks me, you called them? You called the animal? You called them? I said, yes, yes, I called them.
Oh, that's too cute. Luna
Yeah.
likes it. She likes to have it right before bed. So we've made it our kind of part of our bedtime routine where it's just 5 minutes, but I do notice like, if I don't do it in one of the nights, she's like, Mom, Reiki. And same as you. Give Reiki to people all day long. Where's mine?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's nice. Yeah, I should give him every night. I just got lazy on him.
Oh, yeah, I can't imagine. So, and like you said, it's just you. Yeah, I do only make it like 5 minutes, so it's not this long thing. I just put Reiki, I just sit at the end of his feet or at the end of her feet and just give Reiki to her feet for about 5 minutes so that it's also not too much for me to like have to it's one more thing, like you said, and if we're talking real life here, it's one more thing. But I do notice that she does do a little bit better, on the nights that I'm like either I have something to do or I just can't, which is funny because we know that Reiki channels through, but when you're ready to need a break as a parent, you're ready to need a break, and even doubly so for you. So um but I've made it also easy for me to be able to partake in that on a nightly basis and keep it short, keep it easy, and it does help.
I'm gonna start to do that from tonight. Yes.
Add it to the list. Well, and because she was talking about the animals, I want to explain about the divine animal kingdom, which anybody can meet, but we in particular meet them in animal Reiki with the animal Reiki energy, and which is tree of life energy. And so what she was talking about is you can actually invite the divine animal kingdom and have the person either in the center, and the circle of the animals is doing the Reiki and doing the work with them, or even just joining the circle as being part of the circle. And so that's one of the techniques. And like I say, you don't have to have this version of animal Reiki to do that, but that the animals taught us about this through our animal Reiki courses. But also the other one I was thinking about too is just a Reiki zone.
Yeah.
Like wherever he's sleeping, send Reiki there
Mhm.
while you're doing what you're doing and let him just be in that Reiki zone too.
Wow, yeah, I didn't think about
Have
that.
Reiki in motion. And I will say one more thing that because when my mom was alive and I was caregiving her, and it was 7 years, so it was a long time, and we were still in the same house. And there were times that the almost that same feeling, like I just can't have one more thing to do to go give her Reiki. So I would even send Reiki to her from wherever I was in the house, even though I could have, so I would use distance Reiki when she was in one room, I'm in another room doing the things I'm doing. And I did it that way too. So,
Yeah, I do that too.
hmm
I gotta
yes.
practice that. Yes.
So, Meizhu, you also do other modalities, right? You do singing bowls and some other practices as well.
I do symbols, meditation, and Hatha yoga. Yeah,
And what was the last thing? Sorry, it cut out.
Hatha yoga.
Oh, yoga. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's my daily practice. Yeah, and it's also because of Reiki. Like, I start off all those kind of different modalities. And for me, Reiki is the base for me. And meditation, yoga, sound healing, they're just like amplifies the Reiki healing power. And for me, I felt like, they're really deeply connected, because, it really enhance in a way that makes my healing work even more powerful. So meditation and yoga plays a huge role in my Reiki practice. So when we meditate or practice yoga, I feel like it naturally deepen our connection with energy, because it really clears the blockages, balance our system, and strengthen our ability to channel the Reiki more effortlessly. Yeah, and it also cultivate that stillness and presence, which is really essential for working with Reiki. So I normally, before every Reiki session, I will meditate on myself, and sometimes, I will guide my client to meditate before the session, kind of like, to clear and balance the energy, so it can help us to prepare the body and mind to receive Reiki in a much deeper way. And sound healing is like, so I went to Nepal to learn the sound healing and singing bowl therapy. From the training, I realized, how powerful sound, the frequency and the vibration, how like powerful they are in shifting energies. Like the sound can really bring someone into an incredible deep state of relaxation. Like when I was during the session, the sound healing session, wow, the relaxation, like I never felt like that before. So I felt like in that deep state of relaxation, it really allows healing to happen more easily. So when it combined with Reiki itself, it amplifies the energy. It really helps people to relax and receive like more effortlessly, because they don't have their mind, like in the session. Yeah. So normally, before a Reiki session, I use symbol like, on my client to make them relaxed, and you know, to lay them like in a better state for receiving the energy. Yeah. And also like I encourage all of my clients to develop their own daily meditation or yoga practice. Even it's just a few minutes a day, it can really, if they continue practicing on their own, they can, make the healing effects of Reiki, like, kind of like continually to heal them, and it can open themselves a even greater transformation. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about studying it in Nepal. Where and how, just because I've been to Nepal and Kathmandu and absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I learned that in Kathmandu. I actually learned from Master Shri. He is a very traditional symbol master in Nepal. All his family, like, back to, I think, 2, 3 generations, they're all working with symbol. So he's really amazing. Like the way he play with the bowl, it's very intuitive. It's not like, something you have a book, 1, 2, 3. It's not like that. Yeah, and then he really plays that with love, with all his heart. And he used to live in States for quite a long time. Yeah, and then he got a call to went back to Kathmandu. So I learned symbol with him, and then I learned sound healing with another. It's called Lotus. So it's like an organization. So they teach us like not only a symbol but also like a gong, like all other different type of like the sound healing. So I never thought about like how powerful that bowl can make. So when you really have you tried it?
Yes.
Yeah, right. The vibration, like when it's on you, and really like you can feel every cell of your body, like they're vibrating. And then it took me to a state of the deep relaxation so fast, so fast. So yeah, the learning experience there is really like wonderful. As you said, the city itself, I love it. it's it's not a very developed place, right? But you can see like everybody, like the satisfaction on their face.
Yes.
That can't lie, right? It's yeah. And like just by being there, like for myself, it's like I already like, I feel like my energy like goes like very high there. Yeah. And then the learning experience is really beautiful. Like, seeing the master, how he gave the sound healing session, it's it's really like profound experience because every session is different. Like he literally just playing with the energy. It's the same thing. And then he taught us like, when you play in the bowl, you have really keep your eyes on everybody, your audience, see how they react, how they feel, and then you move with the energy, which bowl you're going next. Yeah, there's nothing like, like no notes, purely like, move with energy. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
I love that. And the so many of the bowls that we use here are made in that area.
Yeah, and also like I gave a group session before. So the group session when you play in the bowl and then give Reiki at the same time, the Reiki experience. I usually like group session, I give Reiki experience too, right? So and after I guide the Reiki meditation and the energy starts to work by itself, right? And and start to play in the bowl, it amplifies the energy like crazy. Like all the clients, they felt it. There are clients even said, I've like, went to different sessions and I tried Reiki private sessions and I went to like, sound healing sessions, but it's nothing like this. Like nothing like I felt the energy can be strong like this. Yeah.
Yeah, the sound and the vibration and the frequency carries the Reiki energy and amplifies it.
Yes. Yes. So
Meizhu, where would you as we're kind of starting to come to some time here, what advice would you give to someone who feels called to Reiki but doesn't know where to begin?
I would really say first, you have to experience Reiki, right? Like I said, for me, I experienced it for more than 6 years. Yeah. So I feel like, if you feel called to Reiki, first, trust that feeling, that inner pulling, even if you don't fully understand it yet, it's already guiding you towards something really meaningful, something can transform your life, maybe. Yeah, but before you think about learning Reiki, I think the most important thing is, yeah, to experience it and experience it not just once, but multiple times. I always tell people, don't just book one session. You gotta commit it to at least 5 to 7 sessions. Because Reiki is really, really subtle. Not everybody feels something profound in their first session. Well, some people do, but for others, if they're not that open up, they don't really feel anything from the first session. It's like when we watering the dry soil, right? At first, the water just sits on the top, but the more we nourish it, the more it starts to soak in. So it's the same as Reiki. If you only receive Reiki once, you might walk away and think, oh, I didn't feel anything. Maybe it isn't for me. But healing doesn't always happen in a single moment. It's a process. The more you receive, the more energy begins to shift and the deeper your connection to Reiki becomes. So my first piece of advice is commit to experiencing Reiki as a receiver first, and let yourself be on the receiving end of Reiki without the pressure, to do anything. So let your body and energy get used to it and don't rush the process. So yeah, that's the very important thing at first, I think. And also, I think you gotta really trust your own timing because everyone's journey is different. Some people feel called to learn Reiki after a few sessions. Well, for others, it may take years, like me. So there's no right or wrong timeline. So what matters is just you let Reiki unfold naturally rather than trying to force it. And once you've had several sessions, you will have a much clearer sense of whether Reiki is something you feel connected to. Um, and if that pull to learn is still there, then definitely follow it. Find a teacher whose energy resonates with you. Like, not just in knowledge, but in energy, in presence, like you feel called to that teacher. But beyond that, I think we have always to be remembered that Reiki is not something external that you can get, right? It's something that awakens within you. So even before you take a Reiki class, you can always start cultivating that awareness anytime. Like, for example, by just pay attention to how you feel in different space, how you feel around different people, and start to notice your emotions, your breath, do meditation, and start to notice the way your body responds, how your body responds to stress and relaxation. So the more you pay attention to what's happening within you, the more naturally Reiki will unfold in your life. And finally, it's don't overthink it. Reiki isn't about a rules or do it perfectly. It's about connection. So if you feel drawn to it, there's a reason. Then just follow that feeling. Take the first step and just let Reiki reveal itself to you. Yeah.
I love that. So it experience it, don't overthink it. And can you repeat number 2 again?
Don't
The second one?
don't over trust your own
Trust
timing.
your own timing. There we
Yeah.
go. I
And
like
don't
that.
overthinking.
Yeah, not overthinking. It was so channeled that I was like absorbing it, and then I'm like, okay, wait. Trust your own timing, experience it, and don't overthink it.
Yeah.
I think that those are really great and helpful tips.
Well,
Yeah.
and what I hear, your number one message through all of this conversation is how not just Reiki, but teaching us to go inward for our answers, our guidance, our inner knowing, let that open, awaken, rather than always looking for it somewhere else as an external source. And we know we have spiritual guidance that can be an external source or a multidimensional source, but it all still filters through that inward discovery of your own truth, listening to your own guidance, trusting, you're within. But I hear you throughout the conversation, that message of it's inside you and it's waking up.
Yes. I feel the awareness is and the trust is really, really important because look back my journey when I was really young, actually I always hear, the answer, but I never trust it. I always go to the different way, always. And that made a lot of mistake, but I wouldn't say it as a mistake. But for other people, they will feel like, wow, that's a huge mistake. But for me, it's all experience, right? Like I learn from it. But yes, so it was always there. But because I don't have that awareness and I don't have that trust and I'm not connected with myself, so I thought it's something I made up. And then I'm like, I gotta try another way. I'm not listening, Yeah. So it's very important, like, the trust and awareness and connected to ourselves. And I think Reiki is a really great tool to help us to get there.
Well, and I like also how you described, when we are learning from those external sources, like you say, the fortune tellers or tarot readers or mystics or astrologers or any of those, that the other thing is that Reiki helps you get into the higher and next level of that information. It's not like never look at the external source, but let that external source merge with your inner knowing from a higher perspective.
Yes, absolutely. Because, always people ask me, so is it bad to go to, a fortune teller or to ask for this? I said, no, it depends like how you use the information that you get, right? It's a great way, to know like something out there, something maybe you need to watch out, but how you do it, like how you use the information, it's very, very important. But to me, it's like you really have to have that awareness and yeah, to have that, connection with yourself and energy, and then to know what really the message is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Yeah.
Well, and even when the message isn't clear, or even when you get it from that external source and you're sorting through it all, navigating through it all, it's like sometimes all you know is to just take that one next step and like, okay, I'll just take that one, and to be able to, discern, like you say, with that external source and gain the clarity with, well, what do I do? Just one. And sometimes you can see it for a long distance, but other times it's like, well, either I'm just going to stand here and wait, or I'm going to take that next step, or I'm going to go moving forward, or the way you described your life right now, you're going at an ultra fast speed.
Yes, I am. Yeah. But in a like, go ahead.
Go ahead, Meizhu.
I said yes, it's a ultra fast speed at, but I'm like, kind of like dance with the energy. It's beautiful.
Dance with the energy.
I
Yeah.
like that. Well, so Meizhu, how do people get a hold of you? And also with your timeline of moving to Orlando, I know it's not concrete, but is it, you're going to be having a practice there in a year or hopefully a few months? What's that? And then how do people connect with you?
So they can connect with me on Instagram. Is that what, or like email me, or for our Chinese community, WeChat is the most common way. Yeah, and then we normally like, book the session, share more details on the WeChat. Like for me, really, like before, most of my, like I depend on the referral client because my time is really limited with a child. But after after the website, like, developed, still under construction, but I hope it can finish soon. So after everything, kind of like put together, and I think I will have like more time and more organized. Yeah, so people can definitely, reach me with email or WeChat or DM on Instagram. That's like that's the most like common and easy way.
And well, this of course will be in the description as well, but she can be found, everything is the innerlight.love. And so we'll have her email, her Insta, website. As she said, she's still in the middle of construction of her website. So by the time this airs, it may be up, might be, but if it's not, it will be very soon that it's up because
Yeah.
we were telling her before we get it, we had the same thing, but go to her Instagram in the meantime, or as she said, WeChat too. And you can always email her as well to get a hold of her.
Do you want to
Yeah,
give your WeChat number?
my WeChat number, yes. Like
Here,
I have to,
I think I have it. It's 153-56051.
yes.
Yeah. But that'll be in the description. Nobody's required to remember that right now.
Yeah, we'll put it in the
They're all
show notes.
they're getting their pens out like, wait, let me write that down. So no, it'll just be in the description. You can go there and do that.
Oh,
Thank you.
Meishu,
And
so good to connect with you.
it's my honor, really. When you said you want to invite me for the podcast, I was like, "What? Me? Podcast with Colleen? Yes." Yeah, it's really like it meant a lot to me because, for me, even though I've been getting Reiki for so many years, but as a Reiki master, I'm still quite new. I'm like only like practicing like giving Reiki for only a year and a half, compared to any other teacher. Like I'm really like a newbie. And when I got the invitation, I was really, oh, like so honored. Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Yeah,
You're
and
so
also,
welcome.
by thinking, preparing for the questions, it also gave me time to look back my journey. And I also learned from that process as well. Yes.
Oh, of preparing for today.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Well, we love your message. And as we started the whole podcast with the wisdom, we can certainly hear it in your voice and your message and your knowing. And what we do love about Reiki is that it isn't about how many years you've been experiencing it or teaching it or practicing it. because Reiki's doing the work. And yet I can hear the truth of that wisdom that flows through you. And I'm so excited for you and your son and your community and our community that you are a part of it, but also the outreach that you will have, um, and also the quality that you will be. I think that's what you've been talking about. You really want to have a very professional quality and presentation of what you teach and how you teach it.
Yes, I really, I want to keep it as professional as I can, and then especially to spread like this lineage of Reiki and also the animal Reiki. I
Yeah.
really feel like, in China, it will be really, really popular and big for animal Reiki. Yeah, it will. Like people now, they start to, uh, caring their animals, and they start to see animals differently as their family member compared to like, old days. Yeah. And, there are like a lot of mediumship they can channel in with the animal. They're very in need. Yeah. So I can't imagine like, people can learn the animal Reiki and they can develop this ability by themselves to communicate with their own pet. How wonderful it will be. Yeah. It's just not like introduced to our community that, often. So I bet like, not a lot of people know that.
Well,
Yeah.
to extend it from human Reiki to animal Reiki, and of course, as we know, people can practice animal Reiki without this additional training, but the additional training really does both give you the energy to work with, but also the skills and techniques and the tools that you need to be skilled and professional with it.
Yes, I would say I highly recommend they have to take the animal training Reiki. Oh, I'm gonna take the master class by the end of this month, I think. I saw
Oh, yay.
saw the email. Yeah. At first, level 1 and 2, I was just thinking to try it. I didn't really think a lot, but after the class, the energy, oh my God, it's like, yeah, it make me feel like everybody have to learn it, has to learn it, actually, especially like Reiki practitioner has to learn it, have to like, learn to feel the tree of life, the animal Reiki energy. It also can help like, and like I would say enhance the holy fire Reiki energy as well. And especially for kids, I have like some younger clients. They're like 12, 13, around that age. Yeah, animal Reiki really like worked great on them. Yeah, and I find like nowadays, oh my God, like lots of kids need healing work. Lots of them. Yeah.
And that reconnection with the earth.
Yes. Yes.
And while you're in the cities or while you're at Disney or while you're anywhere, feeling connected and being in your body and belonging, I think, in your life. And the way you described, some of your experience earlier in your life, that's what I was kind of hearing, like not belonging in your life. And now you have that inner knowing and sense of purpose and belonging.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I think that that's a beautiful note to leave off on. I know that we could keep going. So, Meizhu, we'll have to have you back when you are settled in Orlando and let us know how it's going there. So, thank
Of
you.
course.
Yeah,
I
thank you
do.
again so much. And thank you all for listening. Lots of love to you all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.